Well, right now, it seems like the first priority has actually been to make a lot of cuts. This week, there's news of massive cuts to HHS. At this point, about a quarter of HHS's 82,000 employees have left or are expected to be terminated. So just some of the changes here. You've laid off big chunks of offices in charge of vaccine and drug research, HIV/AIDS research, AI, funding for services for the elderly and low-income people, STD prevention, rural health, with very little lead time. Right. What do you say to people in the public who are concerned now about drug safety, about whether we're prepared for the next pandemic when these cuts have happened so hard, so fast?
Yeah, I'd say to the reporters in the room and the lobbyists in the room, I mean, obviously make your case, but I'd truly ask for, as you're making it, a little bit of humility about what the voters were trying to say by putting Bobby Kennedy Jr. in this position of power. I would a little bit of humility to ask why Bobby Kennedy, along with President Trump, are the two most popular political figures in America by far. What the voters were trying to say, and I think they were right, is that the system is really on the wrong track. That the existing health authorities, just demonstrably, the NIH oversaw, and this is just consensus at this point, the literal creation of a pandemic. The NIH, whose goal is to promote American health, has overseen a devastation, just an abject devastation in American health over the past 20 years, with disease rates skyrocketing in America, leading the world of almost every single chronic disease, with rates of nearly every single chronic disease being at an all-time high among kids. There's been very little innovation with small pharma, with innovative therapeutics at the FDA. It costs $1 billion to get through the process. CMS is an agency that's much larger budget than the Defense Department, that's controlled by the American Medical Association, which is a pharmaceutical lobbying group and is almost predominantly sick care. So there's real problems, and when you turn on CNBC, it's just a nonstop. It's a nonstop infomercial for pharma. It's a Sky Rizzy commercial followed by Scott Gottlieb saying how Bobby's killing people, followed by a breathless coverage of the measles outbreak and no mention of the mental health crisis.
How does cutting a bunch of HHS solve that problem?
It is insane. It is insane for you to insinuate that the thing standing between us and better health is more government bureaucrats. Like that's demonstrably
That's not what I'm insinuating.
That is what everyone's saying. It is absolutely insane to insinuate that it's some crime.
It's not all bureaucrats. It's a lot of scientists. It's researchers. It's people who are making sure that
those scientists fundamentally have overseen, just demonstrably, a record of utter failure. It would be insane. Is that funny? Not true. Is that not true? I'd love to hear how, so what metrics would you guys point to for how the scientific community, how the 4 times more per capita on healthcare spending that we spend in America versus other countries has produced innovation? Has there been one single chronic disease medication in modern American history that has lowered rates of the chronic disease? It is appropriate that the American Academy of Pediatrics right now, which is 90% funded by pharma, is pushing Ozempic on 6-year-olds.
So Calley,
that is what the medical authorities are doing.
Why not then use the power that you guys have to push the existing infrastructure in that direction instead of slashing it altogether?
It's not slashing. It's taking it back to 2017 levels. That's not slashing. The amount of bureaucrats.
It's more like 2002 levels,
actually. In many cases, it's actually just not that much. But it is cutting, what is it, 20,000 people? It's taking it back to, it's taking the HHS back to 68,000 employees. It is absolutely, like the idea that Bobby Kennedy should not come in and make dramatic changes to the leadership and the personnel at these authorities that have overseen an abject devastation of American health, which the lobbyists in this room do not have the humility to admit that we have gone completely wrong. The lobbyists in this room laughing when we have the sickest children in the developed world. If you guys, if that is your attitude, and your attitude is to tell the Maha moms that their votes and their voice is not legitimate, that we need dramatic changes to American healthcare, if you think it is illegitimate for Bobby Kennedy to not make big changes to people like Peter Marks, who once again and again went against FDA advisory opinions, who fired the 2 top vaccine makers, the 2 top vaccine scientists at the FDA for suggesting that we shouldn't mandate COVID shots for soldiers, who continually went against expert opinion in favor of the pharmaceutical industry, who many people here were collaborating with him with. The fact that somebody like that can't be fired and he can't install tremendous people like Marty McCary and Jay Bhattacharya and Dr. Oz to start reforming these agencies and put in their people, of course he should do that. That's what people voted for.